This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How we doing today? On this Monday, it's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. You're hanging out with us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube at Joe Gaither 6, or you're checking us out on the Bama Central YouTube channel. Maybe you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. If you are my favorite listener. You can subscribe to the show right there on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. The Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Welcome in. It's January 20th. Lots of exciting things happening today in the world of world. And so I hope that you are having a great day, staying warm, celebrating whatever you're celebrating. MLK Day, Inauguration Day, maybe both, maybe just the fact that you were off work today, or you're still celebrating an Alabama victory over the Kentucky Wildcats. That's what we will be doing today. Yeah. We'll be owning our bad prediction. But I think, did you predict Alabama to win and I took them to lose? I know I took them to lose.
Yeah, I think just for the sake of the argument, I took them to win, but it was a very not confident, I'm going to say this because I have to, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay. Well, I know that I picked, 96, 89, I think is what I said.
I know I said 86 or 88, 85, I think was what I said.
Well, I am wrong, and so you can give it to me in the comments at Joe Gaither 6 if you want to let me know how wrong I was about on last Friday's show about the Saturday basketball game. And obviously, the other voice you just heard is Mason Woods. You follow Mason Woods at MAWoods_. Mason, I hope you had a good weekend.
Yeah, I did.
We got a lot to get into. And so, yeah, I'll just throw it at you. I hope you had a good weekend. And let's go, bro.
Well, I was just going to say, this feels like this is not the first time we've been in this situation with this Alabama basketball team this season. Even just in the short time, the 16 games it's been, I think now. They kind of continue to one game show us something that leads us to believe that this is the identity of this team and this is the way they're going to play. And then the very next opportunity they have, they prove it all wrong and they show you, we can be a totally new team tonight. So yeah, it's just a lot. It's a lot to get into. A lot of good stuff to get into with this game for sure, but still some frustrations with this team, I think, due to the consistency or lack thereof.
So, yeah, we're going to spend the show starting with Alabama win over Kentucky, 102-97. Then we're going to move it from there to kind of just a little about Vanderbilt tomorrow. We're not going to get too much into it. We'll do that tomorrow morning. We'll look at the rest of the SEC, the league. It was a crazy day. Auburn winning again without Janai Broome.
Georgia's, man, I feel bad for them. They're really good.
That's it.
They're just going to be that B tier because of Alabama, Kentucky, Auburn, Florida. It's just tough for them.
Tennessee losing again.
Yeah.
Tennessee losing again. Mississippi State beating Ole Miss. So we'll talk about that. We'll get into the NFL playoffs from an Alabama angle. I want to talk about Will Anderson's controversial flag. I want to talk about, I guess, Jahmyr Gibbs having a big old day.
He had a great game. They lost, but they couldn't stop it.
I didn't watch much of the Lions-Commanders game, but I was all over Ravens. Oh, my gosh. Mark Andrews.
Don't go. You should not return to your home in Baltimore.
What's his day like today? What's his day like? What's Mark Andrews celebrating today? So we'll talk about that as well. And just for the sake of argument, we might throw in a little hangover story or two as – look, we're fully transparent. I made some silly decisions last night. Just enjoying Sunday night and knowing that we weren't recording until in the afternoon on Monday. I was just letting it loose a little bit. Nothing's gone wrong. I'm A-okay. Just want to make that clear. But we can use that as a jumping off point if we need a little more time. All right. Let's go back and let's start. Alabama basketball goes to Lexington, 102-97. Grant Nelson, I think Grant Nelson was embarrassed from Tuesday. Do you?
I would say so. I would say a little bit, certainly. I think he came into this game with an agenda, and he was going to push his agenda.
19 of his 25 points coming in the first half, 2 of 5 from beyond the arc in the first half. He makes just 2 of 7. And look, all that's well and good, but my favorite part, Grant Nelson, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. 9 of 10. We like it. Bravo. We're hearing these guys. They've been working on the free throws. They've been getting in the gym, and they end up going 29 of 34 in Lexington, where everybody's, miss it. 85%, one of their best percentages of the season. Really impressed. To me, Mason, I'm watching the game, and you know how I watch these games on edge, upset, frustrated at every little thing that goes wrong. But as you go into halftime, you're winning by 2. You end up you were up a little bit at the first half, and whatever. You go into halftime, and I'm thinking, wow, everything I was mad about in the first half. You had a handful of turnovers in the first. Would you have 4 first half turnovers? You allowed them to get how many offensive rebounds in the first half for them? Home stats. Let's see. I can figure that out right there. You allowed 9 offensive rebounds in the first half. You gave up the 4 turnovers. Those sorts of things are my while I'm watching the game. Rebound the dang basketball. Don't throw it to the team in white. So you're going into halftime with a 2-point lead, and I'm like, okay, everything that I'm upset about, sure, fair, but on the whole, take a step back, Joe. The team, I think, played its hardest 40 minutes of the season in Lexington. You take some sloppy, a little bit of sloppy here and there, some physicality here and there. Moti Abate fouling out, just only in there for the 15 minutes, but giving you everything he's got. 8 rebounds, 8 points in the 15 minutes. All 5 of my fouls, brother.
Bulldog performance.
Right. So all this to say, I was really, really, really happy. Obviously the result at the end. You were tied with 5 minutes left, and you jump out to a 9-0 run, and basically it's LeBaron and Youngblood that are hitting threes, and okay, the team might look like they're finding a foundation. Mm-hmm. And it looked like maybe the best 40 minutes I have seen this year.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time disagreeing with that. That was an incredibly impressive performance considering who it was against, and where it was at, the circumstances surrounding the game. You come off the really ugly loss at Ole Miss. You desperately need a bounce back victory, and then you have to go on the road to one of the hardest places to play in the country, and you beat one of the best teams in the country. It was very, very impressive for Alabama. It showed a lot of resilience with this win. The effort was very obvious from start to finish. There was not really any point throughout the game where you felt like, oh, here it comes. The typical Alabama going to slack off for, the middle 15 or whatever it is. But there was never any of that in this game. I thought everybody from start to finish really played extremely hard, and they played really, really well. There was no, I don't think anybody played bad this game.
Yeah, LeBaron bouncing back with finding 15 points, 4 of 10 from the field, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. You have 20 assists. Your 30 made baskets come off 20 assists. And that's what really scratches the itch in my soul. It makes me really happy to see it. Yeah. Mark Sears, 9 assists himself, 24 points and 9 assists. Coach Oates talked about it today in the media room. If you want to watch Coach Oates' press conference, you can see that on the Bama Central YouTube channel. But talked about Mark scoring just a hair less than last year. I think totally. I think he's 15 points. I think he scored 15 points fewer at this point this year than he did last year, but his assist numbers have jumped through the roof, and so he is accounting for an even greater amount of scoring than he did last year. I think Mark Sears, golly, has just really impressed me because I thought, oh my gosh, he's going to come back for this last year, and obviously he's still a great shooter no matter what. But I kind of was worried that he was going to get beat up a little bit with a target on his back, and he hasn't really, in my opinion, been susceptible to that this year.
No, I think the way that the rest of the team has kind of gelled around him has allowed him to play not necessarily like freer. I mean, I think to an extent, yes, but more so just he's kind of able to kick, like you say, just sit back and let everyone else do the hard stuff while he just gets them the ball, And that accounting points accounted for as opposed to like actual points scored, I think is like a really fun metric because it's something that a lot of people are probably not super privy to and don't really consider or think about that much. But from the point guard position specifically, you really should be more concerned with points accounted for, or points responsible for, or points that you assisted on, or as opposed to pure scoring. And this year has been, Mark Shears was awesome for Alabama last year, but this season he's been on another level, I think.
So you're at 5:15 left in the game, 81 all, and you go on a nice little 9-0 run for Alabama to get to 90-81. It's LeBaron Philon layup. It's Mo Diabate made free throw. It's Chris Youngblood 3-pointer, and it's LeBaron Philon 3-pointer. I think that Youngblood is going to be pretty nasty if you just keep giving him reps. If you just keep giving him more time to get his feet underneath him, with 10 points on Saturday, 10 points, 3 of 4 from the floor, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc, making both of his free throws. I'm pretty sure he still hasn't missed a free throw this year. I love what Chris Youngblood brings to this basketball team.
Yeah, he's really kind of the last few games we've seen him just kind of get a little bit more comfortable. The shooting has started to get a little better. He's starting to hit 50% or more of his threes, I think, the last 2 or 3 games. So that is only going to continue to open things up for Alabama, having a consistent option that you can turn to when things break down inside. You kick it out, and you've got a consistent 3-point option out there. That's a pretty good thing to have.
Alabama has moved from 10 to 8 in Ken Palm. Offensive rating now at 4, defensive rating at 43. Adjusted tempo, number 1, baby. We like that. And so, great performance. Great performance in a place. We talked about what record would win the league on Friday. We talked about, what was it, 14-4. I think it's an 18-game season. I think it was 14-4, what we said. And how tough it was going to be to win on the road. And so that's what makes Saturday even more impressive to me. Just the fact that you go into the top 2 toughest place to play in the league, and you get it done. So very, very impressed for them. Moved to 4-1 on the season. And you're sitting, 1 game behind the Auburn Tigers. Oh, gross.
Nail biter against Georgia.
Ole Miss got their loss. So Ole Miss. So you're sitting there tied for second with Ole Miss and Missouri at 4-1 in the league. Let's see. Flip back to that. Auburn gets a 2-point win. Florida blows out Texas at home. Tennessee loses by 1 on the road. I mean, goodness gracious, Vanderbilt tried to lose that game late. Tried to give it back away to Tennessee. A&M beats LSU pretty nicely by 11 at home. State goes into overtime with Ole Miss and does beat them.
That was an awesome ending to that game. I don't know if you saw it. I saw the video on Twitter that I think State Basketball posted. It was really cool. Just a good game.
Oklahoma gets their first conference win, 82-62 over South Carolina, and Missouri beat the ever-loving breaks off of Arkansas, 83-65.
What's happening?
Yeah, that's you remind me.
I'm sure you had to have seen the same like on 3 graphic that I saw today with archaic, and then Cal's face right there pasted behind it.
Well, he's running an archaic offense at Kentucky.
Yeah. Has time caught up to John Calipari?
Time caught up to him after the a little bit after the Kentucky national title run.
Mm-hmm.
The John Wall, Anthony Davis run. or was John Wall with Cousins? Anyways, after Anthony Davis, after you stopped recruiting like a genetic freak, archaic is really the name of the game. And if I'm marking, first off, I'm loving it. I love it. Every single time makes me laugh. Because Arkansas, they thought they were doing something.
Mm-hmm.
They thought, we're swinging and we're landing a home run. But you haven't really been afraid of running up against Coach Calipari from a scheme standpoint when Nate Oates is on your sidelines.
No.
And I don't think, and I think that that's only continued in the SEC. I mean, Dennis Gates put the wood to them. I mean, most of it was in the first half, 52-35. They ended up winning the second half, 31-30. Zvonimir Avicic, 14 points, 10 rebounds for Kentucky, for Arkansas. Excuse me, not Kentucky. He was with Kentucky.
Still a little strange,
right? But that's how we're playing, Coach. Through the post, through
all that Tyson chicken money,
through 7 foot Zvonimir Avicic. We're gonna walk the ball up. We're gonna walk the ball up and go real slow and play through the big man and see if Zvonimir can get his jump hook over Cliff Amori and the others. But no, that's a terrible way to play it, and I love it. What do you think about this season so far, SEC season? Tuesday night, we will look at Alabama and Vanderbilt here in a little while. But Tuesday night, a little bit light. Alabama, Vanderbilt. Mississippi State is at Tennessee. Missouri is at Texas. So just a 3-game slate. We will be on SEC Network. For those who cannot be in the building, please come if you can be in the building, because, look, just make these home games. I know they disappointed you last time, but make these home games an intimidating environment.
They made up for it with that road performance.
Then Wednesday night, Florida, South Carolina, Texas A&M at Ole Miss, and Georgia is at Arkansas. Georgia's going to beat them.
Yeah, probably. Georgia has shown us now they've gone toe-to-toe with, Tennessee and Auburn both, I think.
Yep.
And it's a good Georgia team. They're very feisty. They play hard. They're talented. They have guys that can score. They have guys, big guys down low that can play hard. They will steal a couple games this year, I think, against some teams they're probably not expected to.
What do you make about what Georgia did? Because they did get a huge upset. Was it over Florida? Right. They beat either Florida or Tennessee.
They beat Kentucky.
Okay. So they beat Kentucky at home,
Mm-hmm.
Coliseum, 2 weeks ago. Was that right? Roughly?
3, yeah. No, 2. Yep.
And the Georgia, the university operations people, what do you think about this? They tweeted, "Thank you, fans, for not rushing the court. Because you didn't rush the court, we're putting $25,000 into something." It was either some fund or some game day experience fund, whether it's T-shirts and hats at the game or something, or they were basically committing $25K into student experience, into game day experience in some form or fashion. It was either food vouchers or something. Didn't really catch all the details, but the point was you saved us $100. We would have paid $100K if you rushed the court. Well, you saved us $100K. We'll pocket the 75 and do whatever we want with it, and you guys can have fun with 25.
Hey, that's pretty good. I like that. It's a win-win for everybody. I don't think anybody comes out upset here. Obviously, the university is very happy. They don't have to blow all that money, and then the fans are happy. They get a little something they weren't going to get otherwise. More schools should do something like this. I think it's a different way of approaching this situation where rather than, all right, let's wait until it happens and then punish them super hard. It's well, let's just incentivize them not to do it in the first place. And it's a good idea, I think.
And furthering this same conversation, if you've turned on a Georgia game this season, Statement Coliseum's packed to the brim. They're, go Dogs, rah, rah, rah. So, they are, we always talk about home environments.
Cultivating a really good one. There.
Exactly. How do you, obviously, I think the attendance is very good with the students at Alabama. Definitely. And Alabama's never going to rush the floor for anyone. I'm sorry. You can put number 1 Duke out there. I don't think you're rushing the floor.
I don't think there's, and I don't really, I don't know if really anything that they would rush the floor, court, field, whatever you want to call it in.
So, but I just wanted to bring that up as props to Georgia because I thought that was really creative. Hey,
I think it's a very good idea.
You saved us $100,000. We'll just throw
a little bit back of it. Throw a little bit of it back at the fans. I think it's good.
All right, Mason Woods. We're hanging out in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. You guys can call Derek Daniel for all of your insurance needs at 205-758-3391. Derek and his team, they'd love to talk with you. Red, Reese, Victoria, they'd love to get you on the phone with an auto insurance quote, a homeowner's insurance quote. You want to talk renter's insurance. I know that moving season is just around the corner, so make sure you're up on that. Call Derek and his team at 205-758-3391. Like a good neighbor, Derek, Daniel, and State Farm is there. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. All right, let's talk about, you got any other basketball topics before I move into Will Anderson? Any other thoughts on the team right now? Because I don't want to dive too much into Vanderbilt.
No, I think Vanderbilt's a solid team and they'll pose a decent threat. But yeah, we'll get into it tomorrow more.
They are turning people over a lot, so that's something when you look at your notes tonight to take note of. Oh, it's in his press conference saying they turn people over a lot, but they do it differently than Ole Miss. So we will talk about that tomorrow. But I wanted to finish this up with a few loose ends. NFL playoffs, Will Anderson and the Houston Texans losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. Will Anderson after the game talking about, we knew we had to come up here and beat the refs. I want to talk about the national championship game, and then we'll maybe call it a day. What'd you think of Texans Chiefs?
I think first the comments from Will Anderson and many of his teammates following the game, regarding the officiating. I look, it's plain as day that there is something happening. I mean, all of America sees it. We all see it, whatever. I don't think there's some nefarious plot by Roger Goodell to he's calling down from his big leather chair that says, oh, somebody throw a flag. Patrick Mahomes needs another down. But, maybe there's something to it. Who knows? But regardless, I hate when teams take that angle so much. Just accept that you lost. You played a decent game, Houston. Your defense looked good. You just made a couple crucial errors. The Chiefs are a team that you cannot make a single mistake against, especially at this time of the year in the playoffs. This is when they just lock in. You saw it from Travis Kelce. Hadn't done hardly anything all season. Has his best game of the year, basically. So, this was, it was written in stone basically before the game even happened that the Chiefs were winning this one probably. But disappointing to see that so many of the Texans wanted to play the ref game after.
Henry To'oTo'o with 7 tackles, Will Anderson with 4 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits. You got John Mechie with 2 receptions for 35 yards. Anybody else on this list popping my eyes as an Alabama name?
Tuscaloosa native Kamari Lassiter on the Texans.
3 tackles for him. Yeah, so I want to talk about the actual penalty for Will Anderson.
Yeah.
Because, all right, do we agree that the Chiefs are over-officiated? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do we agree that the game is rigged? No. I do think they're over-officiated massively.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that Patrick Mahomes is in a little bit of a weird spot because you obviously accept the protection as a quarterback and as a smart person, you do. But Mahomes does things that really, really irritate you with the protection that he has. With I'm going to fake going out of bounds. I'm going to fake slide. I'm going to go out of bounds and take a little finger and dive like I got killed. He leans into it a lot.
He really, really takes advantage of the ways that they have officiated him.
Exactly. And so that's where I think most people's frustration lies. And that's what I think a lot of people say, rigged, the game is rigged. I think you're foolish if you think the game was rigged. I think that, obviously a 3-time Super Bowl champion Chiefs is highly marketable for the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes' face and Taylor Swift up in the crowd. Great. Of course, I'm following you down that path, that would be a great outcome for the National Football League. But slaying the dragon becomes a great narrative too. And if the Texans were able to do it, I don't think that was. I used to think the NFL was rigged, but I was being a dumb Bears fan because every time the Bears would play the Packers, they would get these silly penalties. But then you realize, maybe some of these teams are a little better than their opponent. And, so I don't think the NFL is rigged. But the Will Anderson penalty, I hate because, it was. I thought that was horrible because Mahomes gets the ball out, it's a miss, and Anderson's face gets right in the sternum.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these helmets they're not small. It's Mahomes' face mask and the top of Anderson's helmet go bam bam, and that's his head. You got to be careful. You can't have the quarterback get a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
Who the heck is San Francisco? Who the heck is Kansas City's backup? It's Carson Wentz now, right? We can't play we cannot have Carson Wentz playing in this playoff game. I just hate it because I thought that's a real football. That's a real football play. Will's moving really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And Will, shut the bleep up in the post game. We had to beat the refs too. Now that was one part of his comment. Most of his comment was largely positive and was largely reflective on we got to be better, we got to play harder, we got to regroup and come back next year. Those were, correct comments. Fun, but still, leave the ref part out. How do you play defense? How do you play? Because of the level changes so much, and Will's eyes ended up right in the breastplate.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell me, that's exactly what you want. Now, it ended up in the breastplate / front shoulder.
Sure.
Okay.
Either way.
You're good.
Yeah. It's not, spearing someone with the top of your head into the top of their head, which is what that kind of penalty should be used for.
That, and I hate the arm down hack on the helmet is roughing it, but I get it. You did tomahawk chop down. Will didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Will was, I'm going to drive right through you because you're 2 feet in front of me.
And I mean, I'm watching it here in slow motion, and the time between Patrick Mahomes releasing the ball and him getting hit is, the snap of a finger in slow-mo.
Yes.
It's just, there is nothing that Will Anderson can do here.
It's a horrific penalty.
The only option he has here is to stop moving and put his hands up in the air.
You saw
and look at the ref and say, "Please don't throw a flag, Mr. Ref."
Yeah. Is it Mitchell Schwartz, the old Chiefs lineman, who's pretty big into media now? Not old, but former Chiefs lineman. Excuse me. I'm sorry, Mitchell, if you ever watched that. I didn't mean to disrespect you there. But he suggested because he quote tweeted Will Anderson's post game comments. Will Anderson talking about, we got to be perfect. And we knew we had to beat the refs. And he says, if you knew you had to be perfect and you think you had to play against the refs as well, go 2 inches lower.
Yeah.
And I'm like, brother, okay, sure.
I mean,
but it's a matter of, we're arguing over an inch.
It's kind of crazy, and to, it's so, everything is happening so incredibly fast. These plays last for 8-9 seconds
max.
Yes, it's he's the time between Patrick Mahomes getting the ball snapping and him throwing the ball is 2.5-3 seconds. And in that amount of time, you expect a defender to not only diagnose the play, address how they can get past the guy blocking them. Then they have to stop, regroup, and say, okay, there's the quarterback. I have to make sure the top of my helmet's not going to clip his face mask when I go hit him. So I need to make sure I get a little bit. It's just ridiculous. It's an insane thing to ask of the defense. The NFL has, and for years now, has just completely poo-pooed on the defense and just made it virtually impossible on them. Something has to change here. I get we want points. Points are fun. Touchdowns are cool. It's fun to see bombs, whatever. But we can't continue to cater to the offense because it's just going to end up looking like basketball out there, and that's not what anybody wants.
Yeah, especially in playoff football. I get you're going to be lax on defense in the regular season in the NFL, kind of like they do in the NBA, and obviously those NFL players aren't telling you that. Just a huge mess to me. to throw that to look, taking nothing away from the Chiefs, great organization,
Mhm. You have not been handed these Super Bowls.
Will just I was just disappointed for Will because I think that was on a third down.
Mhm.
And does it change the game? You got no idea. But they get a first down. I'm pretty sure they go on to score on that drive. Again, does the game? I mean, I think everything changes the game. I think butterfly effect is absolutely real. People are like, oh, you still got to offense is still got to yes, but butterfly effect baby is so real to me. One play turns into something else, turns into something else, turns into something else. And something negated thus cuts all that off. I mean, think about Ryan Williams in the end zone with Oklahoma. People are like, oh, Alabama wouldn't have come back. You don't know that.
I heard a lot of you Bama fans saying, I think if they had kept that one, they could have come back. I heard a lot of people saying that Monday.
Because I truly believe the butterfly effect is real in football.
Yeah, so it should apply.
And really, really tough for Will Anderson, for D'Amico Ryans, as he takes his Texans to the playoffs for a second straight year. And is this did they lose the wild card last year and they got to the divisional this year? All right, so one step further. Great job, D'Amico. Shoot, I wish you'd leave your organization. I know my Bears just hired somebody today, and I am happy about it. But that would have been a fun thing if that were ever in the outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah, if he could leave the AFC South, that would be cool.
Right, the Bears just magically say traded for D'Amico Ryans. They would have had to trade for him.
That's fine. He can leave. I don't like to see him ever on the.
He's terrorizing your Titans.
Oh, it's gonna be so long. CJ Stroud's gonna be there for so long.
Yeah, because he's
Nico Collins. Oh man, you got Derek Stingley and you got Kamari Lassiter, two top young corners on the defense, locking guys down. It's just I'm in hell over here as a Titans fan. Hey,
who can I compare him
Mike
to?
Borgonzi from the Chiefs though, the assistant GM.
Yeah, hey,
very very excited about
team
that.
builder from the Chiefs goes to the Titans.
Very 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 extremely super excited about that, especially because I saw a quote from him specifically this week where he is talking about the decision to not draft a quarterback the year before they drafted Patrick Mahomes and to instead sign Alex Smith, or maybe it was 2 years before, whatever it was. But they went with offensive line, they got receiver help the following year, and worked out pretty good for the Chiefs. So that Tennessee, Amy Adams, you don't have to draft a quarterback this year just because they're there.
Who does D'Amico remind you of? And I hate saying I don't want to make this comparison because all the race whistles will blow off. But the only face that's coming to my brain is Mike Tomlin. I just think that he's so poised.
Yeah.
And I think that over these 2 years, what you've seen out of D'Amico is any BS throws the Texans away. Somebody gets hurt, something happens, just a hurdle. Any hurdles that happens, he's clearing them like, hey, we expected this.
Yeah.
We expected that. Nothing's bothering us. This is the NFL. This is the way it goes. And so he's just got this really aura about him of confidence, the way I don't know that he's.
It's like a quiet confidence.
Sure,
you just kind of feel it.
Yeah. Tony Dungy's book was called Quiet Strength. But I think, I think a lot of D'Amico Ryans. I think that he's obviously, favorable division playing the AFC South, but you have taken a team that was kind of in shambles after you lost to Deshaun Watson.
I mean, Bill O'Brien did not leave the Texans in a good spot.
And they have rebuilt to be highly, highly, highly competitive. And I think they're playing good football, really 1 through 53 on the roster.
Yeah, I hate it, but it is true.
Okay, so that's Texans Chiefs. I didn't watch much Commanders Lions.
Oh, man, you missed a great game.
I know Jahmyr Gibbs had some touchdowns. I know Jameson Williams tried to have sex on the field.
He did. Somebody.
J-Mo. Hey.
J-Mo, buddy. Hey, let's lock in, big dog. Let's just lock in a little bit.
Not sex on the field, sex with the field.
With the turf.
It was that's a move, I guess. And maybe he can write it off as I was doing push-ups or so.
I'm sure.
Yeah, Jameer Gibbs and who was it? Was Amon Ross and
I think it was.
They both picked him up.
They picked him up before the third pump, so there was no penalty. That's crucial there.
Oh, what do you think about?
And then the pick, the Jamison Williams was throwing that ball come hell or high water. I mean, it's like before it was even snapped, he knew it is my job to deliver this ball down the field, and that is what I'm going to do no matter who's there. And he sure enough reared back and Kobe'd that thing and back-breaking interception, which, this is your guy now, so I don't want to speak bad on him, but like inexplicable decision from Ben Johnson there to call that play in that situation. You didn't have to. I think it was a 3-point game at that time, and it was like a 3rd and 6 or something.
He was just ready to get to his next job.
I think that's what it was. He
interviewed all week long.
He'd been talking with Caleb Williams all day, and he was like, "Man, I'm sick of this, dude. Jared Goff.
Jared Goff makes me work so hard. Jared Goff makes me have to call these trick plays."
But yeah, man. That was a heck of a game.
They did have Ben Johnson, one play you definitely need to bring to
double.
You. Yes. Oh, that was so cool, erotic. We're gonna pitch it out to a running back, and then we're gonna run a double. We're gonna run a shovel underneath that shovels. Oh, that was erotic to me. I said, bring that one with you. That one, please. We'll take. And you hire Ben Johnson. In my opinion, all but guarantees that the Bears take an offensive lineman in the first round right here. I mean, what have the Lions been doing over the last handful of first rounds? It's been offensive line or defensive line. Offensive line or defensive line. You had Frank Ragnow. You had
Jameer Gibbs.
I know, but those are after.
Is yours.
Those are after.
Genty is yours at 10.
Those came after we got Frank Ragnow and after we got
they got Darnell Wright already.
Yeah, but we need one more. We need one more like stud up front.
But think about how fun it would be if you had your own Jameer Gibbs.
There'll be another Jameer Gibbs out there. We need some men up front to protect Caleb Williams.
Well, you got your leader of them now. So.
Leader of men.
This game was Jaden Daniels is the future.
Do you want to go there? I mean, please. It's fine.
I don't actually.
Because I am fired up about Jaden Daniels as well.
Jaden Daniels is awesome.
He's great.
As soon as Cliff Kingsbury leaves, it will all fall apart. But he is still pretty awesome, I think. He had a fantastic game. I mean, 22 of 31, 299, and 2 tutties. A lot of yards on the ground. Yeah, I mean, I think it's still a little scheme dependent.
That's fine.
But we'll see.
I have no issue crediting Jaden Daniels as a good player. He's a good player.
The turnaround for the Commanders this year, I will say, is very, very awesome. It is fun to watch. A good storyline. You talked about the Texans getting to slay the dragon. Not exactly slaying the dragon, but a remarkable turnaround from what the number 2 overall pick to now in the NFC Championship. That's
Dan Campbell crying. Oh my God! I was
man,
I was feeling some feelings watching Dan Campbell cry, going, "Yes, cry those tears into this cup, right here into this cup, please, so I can drink them."
How bad are the Lions going to be next year after losing Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson? That's going to be the true test of Dan Campbell as a leader.
Back to the basement, buddies.
It might just be. We'll see.
So Jaden Daniels is great.
Brian Robinson had a good game, 2 touchdowns.
The thing that really set me off this weekend, Jaden Daniels is great. What it was, the Bears should have drafted Jaden Daniels. Y'all messed up.
He would have been terrible on the Bears.
Dude, use your brain.
Yeah, he would have been terrible on the Bears.
Use your brain.
Anybody that was going to this year's Bears team would have been bad, mediocre to bad.
And like
Caleb was slightly above average.
Caleb nearly broke every single season passing record for the Bears franchise in a year where the whole organization was falling apart. The kid was great in an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah, he had some. Yeah, he showed a lot.
Jaden Daniels gets drafted. He could have been great too in the same dumpster fire. But people are like, "Oh, I should have drafted Jaden Daniels. You'd be in the NFC." No, the heck they wouldn't. They still would have gone 6-11, right? 6-12,
6-11.
Yeah, on my funky math now. And Jaden's a great player. Caleb Williams, whoever was going to the Cliff Kingsbury system, and whoever was going to be supported by the Dan Quinn defense, and whoever was going into the booty cheeks NFC East, like outside of the Eagles, you're getting a bump right there. Jaden Daniels
I
is
did
great.
see this
But
stat.
you cannot sit here with a freaking brain and say, well, y'all drafted the wrong quarterback again.
I will see. And to play devil's advocate a bit, it's worth noting that of rookie quarterbacks that have led their teams to AFC/NFC championship games, Jaden Daniels has the worst defense of any of them by a wide margin. I think it was the 15th ranked scoring defense, and everyone else had one or between 1 and 3.
He's a great player. Electric.
I think you're right, though.
But
I think you'll be
Shane
happy
Waldron
with this
is-
taking 8 years.
Right. Shane Waldron is not coaching Jaden Daniels to success. Period. I'm sorry. Like, the organization was an absolute failure. And look, I think you got 3 real quality quarterbacks in this class.
Which is crazy.
Maybe 4. Penix, too. Maybe
Penix, too.
Maybe 5.
I mean,
So, like, praise the Lord,
You know-
we don't need a quarterback this year. This quarterback class, like, contrast this last quarterback class with this. Like, it is like dumpster fire when you look at Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, Cam Ward. Don't take a quarterback in this class.
man, I'm gonna be so sad when they
Every
do.
quarterback in this class is a backup, at best.
I think Cam Ward is your backup of them. I don't Milroe. He doesn't have the backup skill set, and Shedeur, he won't be anybody's backup.
Yeah, he's going to go play in the UFL.
He'll play in the UFL before he's somebody's backup, or the CFL or something, or they'll start their own league.
Oh my gosh! So that's our stuff with the. Oh shoot, we were taking these game by game, weren't we? Because I will go back to my notes, and we haven't said anything about Mark Andrews. But Rams at Eagles. I mean, you pair the best running back in the league with the best offensive line in the league, and it's like, watch them go.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about that game, and it was like, they're talking about how, like, well, we know if Saquon had been on the Giants this year, what would the Giants wouldn't have been any better than they were.
Their
They
offensive
maybe
line
win
was
1-2 more games,
Yes.
maybe. But yeah, it is the combination of Saquon and the NFL's best offensive line, and
Leonard
everything
Dickerson
around
was
them.
killing people yesterday.
Yeah, and that game, that was man football. That game, that was great. The Rams were way too soft to play in the cold.
What's your thoughts on Jalen Hurts at this point? 15 of 20, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He takes 7 sacks.
I think he's
rushes for 70 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. I think he's a little banged up. I think he's dealing with some stuff. He was limping towards the end of that game. Looked like it was something, definitely like a noticeable, whatever it is. It was something, whether a knee, ankle, various vague leg thing, whatever. He was limping noticeably at the end of the game. So, I think that 7 sacks maybe had a little bit to do with it.
Dude, Jared Burks was a monster yesterday.
Yeah, I think he puts himself into some of those sacks with
That's
the way
what I was
that he
asking.
plays. It's a bit of. The Eagles have a fantastic roster, one of the best in the NFL. Obviously, they're in the NFC Championship game, but the quarterback is not part of that. Like, every position is elite. Jalen Hurts is good. He is not an elite quarterback. He is not that elevator like a Patrick Mahomes is that we were talking about earlier. He does not. I think
he does have one elite weapon though with the tush push.
Sure. Yeah, I think this is probably a bit of an exaggeration, but like the Eagles kind of just win in spite of Jalen Hurts almost. He doesn't make a lot of the winning plays himself. It's the guys around him that put him in situations. AJ Brown getting open, Saquon Barkley breaking 2 50-yard plus runs. So Hurts, he's very solid. I would take him on the Titans in a heartbeat. But yeah, I don't think he is that like elevator guy that's gonna, when everything else collapses around him, I wouldn't really be counting on Jalen Hurts to do it himself. Now, he did have a great game in his last Super Bowl appearance, though. So he was the best player on the field in that last Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl.
And then the nightcap. If I were a Ravens
what
fan,
game.
I would be suicidal. I seriously would, because
This is like exactly the perfect way for this game to have gone for me as a viewer.
like, for me, my most recent experience in the playoffs is double doink in 18. Well, I think they got back to in 19, but lost in the first round, so who cares? But like, that was a horrific way to lose double doink.
Mm-hmm.
I think dropping a 2-point conversion with no one around you when the ball's delivered right into
Right
your
in the breadbasket.
belly button. I mean, I would be suicidal if I were a Ravens fan, especially after the way, like that 18 season for the Bears was like water in a desert. Oh my gosh, we can drink anything and great. Like the Ravens were actually really good and they were decimating teams. We were a little cutesy in that 2018 season for sure, but like the Ravens were a real.
They were a juggernaut. Should have been.
Mark Andrews, you fumble. You dropped the 2-point conversion.
So great. It was so nice. I got to see the two players that I really enjoy, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, both had great games. The loss was neither of their fault, but I still got to watch the Ravens lose. It was awesome.
We're going to talk about the Lamar Jackson interception. Looks like if you watch it on the All-22, wide receiver runs a different route. You got a miscommunication issue, and whether that's on quarterback or wide receiver,
I think more often than not, it's usually on the wide receiver.
Just issue there. Yeah, I'd be so sick if I were a Ravens fan.
Man, my good friend of mine, big Ravens fan. He was in shambles.
That would have made me call my mama and just sit there and cry for a little bit. Mama, I love you very much.
Ravens have had some tough playoff losses. Notably to my Titans a few years back. That was great. I still bang the drum for that game. About all I have.
Well, we move into championship weekend, and we'll talk about that next week.
It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be some good games.
Bills, Chiefs, Eagles.
Commies.
Commanders. Yeah. Well, we'll find out about that. Okay. Almost done for the day. Thank you, everybody, watching us on the Bama Central YouTube channel, listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. Subscribe, rate, review the show. Send it to a friend as we figure out what we're going to do in the future. Mason, I went to Best Buy to buy us a dadgum hotspot today, and they go, well, we don't have any on the store. I said, it shows it right here that you got one.
You know how many people walk up to me at the Home Depot and say that on every Monday?
Why do y'all do that?
Well, because
retail.
Typically, now I don't know about Best Buy,
sure.
But I would say every time someone does that to me at the Home Depot, you just have to say, well, you see, if you scroll down a little bit, it actually is going to say, that says ship to store, and you're going to want to click pick up in store. And then they say, oh, I see it's not available when I hit pick up in store. It's only ship to store.
I see.
That may have been your issue.
All right. Well, we will look for that.
But that's crazy that you would think that seems like a pretty...
all they had was some really, really high dollar ones.
That feels like a piece of technology that people are still using these days. Hotspots. I don't think the hotspot has gone obsolete, and it's weird that you would not be able to find one at the Tuscaloosa Best Buy, given it's a bit of a smaller Best Buy. But
oh my gosh,
that's lame.
National championship game tonight.
It feels like it's not even happening.
Kevin Skarbinski goes out there today and basically said that.
Yeah.
No buzz for the national championship game, and he got raked over the Twitter coals. Right. I mean, what is that worth? You raked over the Twitter coals. Who cares? But the people came for Kevin Skarbinski saying, this is how it is every year for us when Alabama's in the championship. The buzz in the Midwest is really, really high. We're so excited for it. We're Notre Dame. We're Ohio State. Rah, rah, rah. We can't wait.
Maybe that's how it is. I don't believe it, though.
Yeah, this isn't how life always is. I mean, no Alabama in last year's national championship game either. Was there pretty good buzz? Sort of.
I think so. Better than this year, I think.
Shoot. You got to sell a kidney to get in if you want to tonight. It was like $3,000 tickets.
I was checking it right before we got on the show, and it was, let's see, right at $4,500 get you in the door, right up in the nosebleeds.
Gross.
In the corner.
That's some desperate Notre Dame fans.
Hey, though, $2 hot dogs and sodas.
You're saving money there. That's two desperate fan bases wanting to see themselves win a title. You taking Ohio State?
Which, Ohio State, yes, it's been a decade, I guess, but you won that one. It's not like you're
2014, 10 years.
You're not Notre Dame.
My children, my 8-year-old children are now are now going off to college since the last time that our beloved Ohio State team won.
Hey, there's a lot of other teams in much worse spots.
There have been marriages and divorces happening in those 10-year spans. Lives have been lived. Tonight, Ohio State is a 9-point favorite 9-point favorite. ESPN's matchup predictor has Ohio State 55.3% chance to win the national championship game. Marcus Freeman, save us all. Hail,
I
hail
still
to
think I
the
want Ohio
Notre Dame.
State to win just for the storylines. It's just the notion of I cannot beat my rival, but I went out and won a national title. So what are you going to do, administration, is very funny to me from Ryan Day's standpoint.
Basically, stories come out now from that Michigan game that Ryan Day goes into the team and basically more or less rakes himself over the coals, throws ash on the back of his head and says, "Oh, it's my fault. I wasn't ready. It's my fault." Blah 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 blah. And the team, I think, really dug that move for sure, and thus they're in the national championship game. I'll be pulling for Notre Dame and the upset.
I don't think I can.
But it's Monday night, Mason. I'm not watching this bleep.
That's what I mean. I'm a football fan.
I'm watching Raw, baby.
I love football. Look, I love.
This starts at 6:30. You got me for 30. You got me for 30 minutes to hook me.
This is gonna be like on mute on my second monitor while me and my wife watch a television show. It's just I'm having a real hard time getting super pumped up for this game.
You got 30 minutes to hook me, or I'm flipping this bad boy to Netflix.
Yeah, hey.
And
if you catch me, if I see Jeremiah Smith bombing down the field and then Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Love, busting off some long runs, I'll lock right in. Don't get me wrong, but as it stands right now, I'm not excited to watch either of these two teams.
Breaking news: I am scheduled to go to Monday Night Raw next week in Atlanta, so I'm definitely dialed in tonight to see the setup of what it's going to be the week after. I know that our listeners and viewers may not care about that.
I think we need to just do a 10-minute end of show every day. We'll just do a wrestling, or maybe once a week we do a little wrestling.
Shoot, I could talk your ear off about it, about what's going on, and
I'll just sit here and listen.
Oh my gosh, hey, if you like podcasts, I really appreciate you listening to our show a lot. But one of my favorites is Insight with Chris Van Vliet, and he basically just interviews wrestlers. Last week, he has Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy on, the Hardy Boys. You remember them jumping off ladders, tag team champions, this, that, and the other. Jeff Hardy, he can't get his life together for a long time. Basically, was at the tippy top at the John Cena level and drank himself under, embarrassed himself several different times through drugs and alcohol. And his discussion with Chris Van Vliet, obviously he is sober at the moment, and now I'm battling and working through that. I really appreciated it. I thought it was really, really, really cool. Somebody that I watched as a kid talk about his struggles. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing tonight. I'll be watching this football game for about 30 minutes. If Will Howard, if it gets to 14, if it gets to 17-0, I'm gonna be out fast.
Yeah. I'm gonna need to see some sacks and some maybe a turnover, interception or something from Notre Dame's defense for me to really get locked into this, because it's just not really doing it for me.
So let's get out of here for the day, because we need to get back to our lives, and you need to get back to your life as well. We will talk to you tomorrow here on the Joe Gaither Show. We'll be back to our morning time tomorrow morning, and we will talk Alabama and Vanderbilt. We'll react to the national championship game. I will watch enough to know what's going on for sure. We'll react to that, and I guess we might give you 3 minutes of what happened on Monday Night Raw at the end. We'll find out. We will talk mostly Alabama basketball tomorrow as the Crimson Tide return to Coleman Coliseum. We'll get out of here for the day. Follow Mason Woods at MAWoods_ on the Twitter machine. Myself at Joe Gaither 6, and follow Bama Central right there at Bama Central. Alabama on SI right there into your browser. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither 6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.